Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining me this afternoon is your Chief of Police, Chad Brecklin. Chad, welcome back to the show. Thank you always for coming back here and being a part of this. We appreciate it.
Good afternoon. My pleasure to always sit down and chat with you.
Today we've got a couple of topics to talk about. We had the community night out, first annual community night out, which was a hit.
Yeah.
A really awesome job there by your team. And then I do want to talk about some crime prevention tips from some recent activity occurring here. And if we have time, we'll talk about some new officers too. But I still got it in. I mean, it's a
sounds like a plan.
busy segment here. So
When isn't it a busy segment?
well, I mean, good or bad, we always have stuff to talk about. So that's okay by me because I'd rather not sit here and just stare blankly. Nor do I think anybody wants to see that anyways. But let's start with the community night out. You changed locations, you changed the date. I think it paid off.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I was coming from another meeting prior to the start of the the community night out.
It's only because I said that.
You
I
set
said
me up
it
for it.
like
You
10 times before we got
set
on
me
here.
up
I'm
for
sorry.
it. So anyway, I was coming from a previous commitment and got to Hugo Jamestown Park at about just before 6 p.m. and the event had started at 5. And I have to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised about how far away from the park I had to park. So it was, it was at least 2-3 blocks away from the park. So there was a lot of folks that were there, participating in the event and just coming in to check it out and have conversations with their neighbors and the police and other organizations that were there. I do definitely want to thank Officers Morgan Matz and Maddie Topel. Morgan was our lead coordinator for the event, and she clearly hit it out of the park with all the preparation and legwork that she put into it. And I know that Maddie was also kind of Morgan's right-hand woman, so to speak. And then there were also a lot of other department members, too many to name specifically, that also contributed in a variety of different ways and participated in the event. And also we had, for the first time ever that at least I recall, Citizens Academy graduates stepped up and came out and volunteered some time and helped us out as well. And then there were clearly a lot of neighborhood residents. The Jamestown Neighborhood Association was represented, and then just a number of businesses and organizations, other law enforcement agencies came out to show us some of their vehicles and those sorts of things. And clearly the always popular Medflight helicopters. So it
draws a little bit of attention.
Yeah, it was really an outstanding event, in my opinion. It was a great opportunity, again, for everybody to interact in just a different environment. And as you mentioned, this was the first year we had moved it from a weekend. Historically, it had been a weekend in McKee Farms Park during the summertime, and we elected to move it to a weeknight and move it to a neighborhood park, which, as I mentioned, Hugo Jamestown. Shelter had recently been redone by the Parks Department in the city, so it worked out awesome. And the weather cooperated as well. It was a perfect night weather-wise. So a great event all around. I appreciate everybody. FACT for coming out, Fitchburg Public Safety Agencies, Fire, Fitchrona, and all the other agencies and organizations that came out, and of course the residents and Fitchburg staff.
Yeah, the residents, we got there to set up for the show pretty early, and there were a lot of people there when we were setting up, and I was like, this is a good sign.
Yeah.
There were some great businesses that were out there too, part of the event, but a successful night, and if you missed any of it, you can go back and watch. We did a full show there highlighting community policing, the efforts you guys are working on, and it was a fun night. So great job to everybody on that front, and I'm looking forward to next year.
Yep,
I'm
we'll
excited.
be happy to have you back next year. I think we already have tentatively set the date for August 12th next year.
Whoa, dropping dates here already.
Yes, so we're trying to
heard it here first.
Trying to get it out there.
Well, I apprate that, Chief.
You got the scoop.
I've got the scoop. All right, perfect. We can shut down now. We got everything we need. Let's turn our attention to property crime prevention. Unfortunately, not just limited to Fitchburg. wherever you are, you're hearing about this
Yeah.
in Dane County, is these crimes of opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
and we've talked about it so many times on the show,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, Fitchburg was a target
Mm-hmm.
recently of someone or some bodies,
Yeah.
however you want to
Yeah.
say it, but. We're getting better
Mm-hmm.
about the see something, say something
Most
stuff,
definitely.
but where are we at
Yeah.
now, as far as maybe talk about a little bit about the case,
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
but
Let
where
me
we're
start
moving
there
here.
if you don't mind.
Yeah.
And obviously, we sent out an alert. I think it was on
20th.
the 20th, so Tuesday evening. I got
I'm
to
lucky
keep my
enough to look. Well,
days.
I'm
Yeah.
lucky enough. I have the computer in front of me, so
Yeah,
I
my
could
days
cheat.
tend to blend together sometimes, so I had to think about what evening we sent that notification out. But we had several either burglaries or attempted burglaries to residences in the Tower Hill neighborhood near Pembroke, Marlage, in that vicinity during the early morning hours of Tuesday. So, in response to that, what we have done is obviously we have our detective bureaus working on those cases, and they do have some leads that they are following up on. So, hopefully, those leads will become fruitful, and those that are responsible will be held accountable. And the other avenues that we've done is we've also done some increased visibility in that neighborhood with our folks. And we've also taken a look at what our other law enforcement partners may have out there for similar cases. And also done some neighborhood canvassing as well to determine if there's any other additional evidence or information or suspicious activity that we are not aware of. And I do want to encourage folks that obviously you mentioned the see something, say something, but I also want to encourage folks that if they have a home video system, surveillance system, whether it's a video doorbell or other outdoor camera, if they have any video from that morning, say between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. Tuesday morning, that might show any suspicious vehicles or persons, we would love to have a copy of that video sent to us. And anytime somebody has images that they might capture on a video surveillance system, I know a lot of times they may feel like they should post that out to a neighborhood social networking or email string. And that's certainly their prerogative, but if they could also contact us and ensure that we have a copy of that video, we definitely appreciate it so that we can evaluate if it has any evidentiary value and those sorts of things.
I will glad you brought that up because I had seen that on the release and we had talked a little bit about it, and something I have a doorbell that
Mm-hmm.
has that, and it has the feature to share that with
Mm-hmm.
your neighbors, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking this is great, but I'm like, I
Absolutely.
wonder if they actually
Yep.
shared it with the police or not.
Yep.
I assume they do, but
Yep.
you can't make those assumptions. The
Right.
other thing that stands out from this was, and something that I'd not thought about, is if you think your car was broken into,
Yes.
you didn't think anything was taken,
Yes.
and you're like, well, I don't know if I should call.
Just call and talk to an officer. If there's nothing about it, so to speak, then we at least have it for information and can kind of help utilize it to determine patterns and those sorts of things, and see if there's any correlation to other events or activities that are happening in other neighborhoods of Fitchburg or in the metro area. As we've all been hearing for a couple of years now, this is not just isolated to Fitchburg, which has obviously made it all the more important for us to have a good, wide base of knowledge of what's happening in our neighborhoods for our own purposes, but also it's helpful when we're talking to our other law enforcement partners who are also experiencing the same issues, to really have that communication and have a broad base of knowledge in case there are similarities or people are crossing jurisdictions to commit these crimes.
Yeah, we don't know how it's working,
Mm-hmm.
but you guys work together, which should be a deterrent for
Yeah, there are
for these.
great relationships amongst the law enforcement
Mhm.
agencies in Dane County, and that's not always the case in other parts of our country. But this county works very well together across jurisdictional boundaries.
Fantastic. And you guys do have a lot of property crime prevention tips up
Yeah.
online. I'm looking at them now. We
Mm-hmm.
share them with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can't tell you the number of times I've read it on this show. The lock it, light it, hide it, remove
Yep.
it, close it,
Yep.
report it. It's so important to take these steps. They're easy
It
steps.
is.
Again, it's unfortunate that this is
Mm-hmm.
happening, but if you can take these steps to help deter somebody,
It's
easy.
It's clearly not ideal that we have to take these steps in this day and age, and it is a little bit of work, right? There's no doubt about it. But by all means, to prevent yourself from being a victim, I strongly recommend you make the effort and take the time. And we also continue to offer our vacation watch service. Folks can sign up for that online if they're going to be out of town. All they have to do is go to our website, and they can request an officer to do a drive-by and take a look at the property as time permits. We also encourage folks to get to know their neighbors and have a neighbor also keeping an eye out on things. And as you mentioned, if you see something, don't feel like you shouldn't call us. Give us a call as it's happening. It gives us an opportunity to take a look at the situation in real time.
Yeah, you get to meet the officer too, or
There
talk
you
to
go.
somebody in the department,
Yes,
and we got a pretty friendly department, so that makes all the difference. Real quick, Chad, the new officers you brought on.
Yeah, so we had 3 officers start last month. We hired Officer Ty Vang, Officer Matt Overstreet, and Officer Brett Hammermeister. Officer Vang is beginning his field training has just begun his field training. He came to us from another law enforcement agency, and Officers Overstreet and Hammermeister at Madison College, they began the law enforcement academy this week. So we're happy to have them on board. And if I may take one more quick second, I'll announce a couple of promotions that will take effect later this fall. Officer Cesar Lopez will be promoted to sergeant in September. And Officer Mike Burry will be promoted to sergeant in mid to late October.
Congratulations to
Yeah,
those two.
great work by those folks earning those promotions.
2 familiar names, good officers there. So appreciate the time, Chad, as always, and look forward to having you back on the show.
You bet. Thank you very much.
We'll have plenty to talk about, right?
Always.
All right, that is your Chief of Police, Chad Brecklin. We'll take a quick break. You are watching Talking Fitchburg.